Well, hello there, and intriguing title. I think you'll like A Tale of Two Candles. They mean up and down over the weekend. Well, I can't obviously tell you what will happen over the weekend. I will say that I did think to myself, these candles are weird. So the two candles I'm talking about. So we're all trying to work out. I mean, I'm drawn here. You know, our idea of where the Wyckoff. This is the consolidation, and we're hanging around in the bottom side of it. And the midpoints of consolidations are always interesting. You know, they're sensitive. You can see they're sensitive here. Let's get the picture. They are sensitive. In fact, they're sensitive here. In fact, I do actually feel. In fact, I want to move it to this screen actually because this is better. So this is the center line, and this is like on an hourly. I'm going to switch back to the 8 hourly because actually that's where I noticed this at first, and I'm going to take it through. So if we put in, I'm just going to put in a line there, another line, oops, there at the top, and another line there at the bottom. Have I managed to do that? It's hard to say. Switch those off. No, I failed. Okay. Well, come on, behave for me. Right, so here's your midline of this distribution. Oh dear, I'm messing this up. I do apologise for being cack-handed today. Okay, so there's the midline, and you see how sensitive it is. And then, obviously, you got this rise up here. And what I've been showing you guys over the last few is how the volume is really important, and how I'm reading from the volume the composite operator putting their foot on the scales when you're trying to measure. You know what I mean. You're at the gym and someone comes up behind you and you're just on the scales, and someone puts their foot on the back and think, God, just put 10 pounds on. How can that be? Well, what I'm saying is that they notice what's going on. They notice when retail's doing nothing. So here's an area of low volatility. This is over the Easter weekend. There's nothing much going on there, is there really? Okay, and so what I say to myself is that where's the volume? Here's some. That's probably, let's go down to 1 pix. There we go. There's some volume. You know, it was pootling along, absolutely fine as you like before this, almost no volume, and suddenly, you know, when something big like this happens, this is not a load of retail traders all suddenly getting the same idea at the same time. I can assure you it is not. That is someone putting their foot on the scales. Here's another example here where you've got relatively high volume and it's range bound. And that is an example, in fact I think it probably needs to be 2 pixels here. So that is an example where there's a lot of activity going on, but it's not Reno, so it's stuck there, And then what they tend to do is take their foot off and see what happens. And you get lower volume, but higher price, and then, you know, it's obviously undecided for the whole of the Easter weekend. Now let's get to the point of the video where two candles makes a big difference. I'll tell you which candles they are. They're these two. I can't drag this out away far enough. But it's this one and this one. Now, what they are green candles, but are they really? So here I'm noticing someone's foot. We got up to the midpoint. Someone's foot went on the scales. Someone's foot made it start to rally. Then there's no volume here as someone's foot disappears. People get excited and buy in, and at that point they'll drop it. Okay, and there is the foot. These two candles here are the composite operator saying, right, enough of that, let's go down. And so what does he do? Now we've got falling volume with a rising price. And not only are these fooling you, these two candles here are almost red. Look, that one is red but for like 50 bucks. This one here is red but for, I don't know, 200 or 300 bucks. And the point is, they all tried to go up here and failed on relatively high volume. That is the operator saying, no, not enough. And he really wants you to go into the weekend worried. Now, we had an interesting one in the, I'll just check I can be heard and stuff. People quite often put Shaz Ahmed, I'd like it to reach 42-ish before the big drop. There's a lot of things I'd like, none of them printable, and I'm not sure I'll get them either. Now they may well do, as I said a while back, because I said, you know, what it's going to do is it's going to work its way through a channel that goes kind of like this. But at some stage it makes its point and moves out of the channel. And the point of its widening, the widening channel, is really simple. Is to get people interested, you know. So you get the widening channel like that, and it widens on the downside too. So every time we get near the edge and it goes through and it's gone lower than here, for example, well, that's it. It's a breaking out on the downside. But was it? No. Boom, up we go. But this is just, you know, the market messing with you. And so guess what I'm saying is that if it wasn't for the fact that these two, and these are 8-hour candles, and it looks different, but we're going to go into it on a much more sort of, I'm going to go down a few timescales to see what's really going on within. But it is worth looking at these things. So here you have these two 8-hour candles that look like reasonable volume, reasonable green volume, but both of them are utter failures. Look, up to the top, down, up to the top, down. These are both failed, and these are two red candles. And this one is going down under its own steam. It finishes in 2 hours, and it's going to be another lowish volume candle. These are 8-hour candles. So another quarter will make it another lowish volume, and it's coming off because there's absolutely nothing there. All the buying power here, where is it now? It's gone, hasn't it? And this is what Composite Man's doing. He's reading these graphs. He's reading these candles and saying, oh, buying power's gone, nice. What's the path of least resistance now? Downward. Yeah, no buying power, nobody wants it. And he's had a little look down here, and there isn't really very much volume, so there wasn't exactly thousands of people queuing up to buy it here, because otherwise this candle will be up here. And so it's interesting, isn't it? And while I'm not necessarily going to be right now, this second, or even by Monday, this is not necessarily bullish, and this kind of fits in with what we've been saying. One of the greatest things is knowing your Elliott waves, and knowing that what we're really looking for is kind of a drop down further. You're kind of recognizing the distribution pattern as it comes out. Now you can say, well, I'm biased, and that's something everyone's got to avoid. You know, it's very easy to become biased and say, well, I'm right, and so therefore I'm right, and therefore everything's going to look like distribution. Well, it kind of is, but I'm also trying to say to myself, can I see any accumulation type characteristics? And right now, no. The only one is this, what I regard to be like, it's a bit spring-like, but I don't like the fact that this candle here was an awful lot of business for a low range. Yeah, so the buyers never really got control and pushed it higher. This candle here, the next one up, is low volume. It's gone up a bit under falling volume, and these should be red candles. So for me, I'm still bearish, and that kind. I just wanted to go into what you can read into candles. Now I did promise that we would also look at this on a lower time frame. Let's do that. So let's go down to say a 4 hour. And what you've got here is a much less sort of green picture, haven't you? You've got falling volume and most of it red. You look at it on a 1 hour. So since we've been in this distribution, well, I call it distribution, since we're in the consolidation, say, you know, you've got a big spike up here, but then it just vanishes immediately. The really big work here is on a big down. Okay, so there's high volume over a whole set of hours there, and that presided over this. This one here, high-ish volume and presided over basically nothing. High-ish volume here but lower, presided over this, which reached the top and then fell immediately away. So that kind of backs you up as well. Now, it's very hard to do these analyses and without being able to accuse yourself afterwards of having a bias, and therefore the problem is. But you know, I'm just pointing out what I'm seeing and why my bias hasn't changed as a result of this. Now, before I move on to further questions that people might have asked, I want to move out a bit and I want to look at this. So what I've drawn here, this is the weekly picture. Where's all this stuff? And so this is a well-known internet guru's latest stream. It's a screenshot. I'm not going to say who he is, and this is common. So they say higher highs, higher lows, uptrend, and I'm going to publish later a reason why this is just false and stupid to say these things. And the reason is that in order to get your monthly fall, which we talked about hundreds of times, you are going to have to break this pattern. It's a bit confusing there, just get one of them in. So that's kind of the same picture as this uptrend line here that's been drawn. And for me, you're always going to get this break, because the whole point of a 3-4 move is that it will break. It will make a change of character, so it kind of has to break below here. At which point all the internet gurus go, it's going down now, it's no longer an uptrend, therefore we're in a downtrend. Wrong, we are in an uptrend, it's just that you are too dumb to understand how the uptrend works. And it's going to go down here, at which point, you know, once we're in this sort of territory down here, we're going to get a load of doom and gloom, and it's going to hell in a bucket, at which point immediately after that, up it goes. So this is why people lose money, because they listen to amateur TA, which doesn't really make very much sense if you know the bigger picture. I'm going to do an idea on it later, but you get the idea. Right, over to questions. Good afternoon from Rod Dasher. High Octane 321. Great, this confirms what I was seeing in the volume as well. Good, I'm glad you're watching it. Volume is one of the things. You know, you have to ask yourself, is this high volume candle, what is it? Is it retail all deciding at the same time to do something, or is it a higher power? If that makes sense. Shazameh, so Bitcoin is currently in a much larger downward channel. I'll have to show you later in the Discord, but that's my reasoning. It maybe could hit 41.8 before we crash and burn. Now it can easily hit 41.8. Let's go back to the 8 hour. And let's put our, you know, the top of this is over 42. And so if we get a UTAD, which does happen in these things, you get another blast to the top, which convinces everybody we're breaking out before the drop. Now, I personally don't think we're going to get it, okay, but you might get it. And so there is a chance, yes, Shaz Ahmed, that you could hit 41.8. Muo Toto says Moon Carl trend line. Well, you didn't get that from me, I can tell you. But he's not the only one with a trend line like that. But it does look a bit like his phone, I must admit. Okay, so that's all I've got on Bitcoin. Going into the weekend, I'm still feeling that we'll get a drop. I don't know if it'll be this weekend, don't know whether it'll be tonight, tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday, who knows. But I do think to myself, you know, none of this looks particularly bullish. And would I like to buy here, thinking we're about to go off into an impulsive B move? No, I still think that the A is not in. There's that A I'm looking for, around about 30,000. And this, to me, looks more like distribution than accumulation. But we'll sit and we'll watch. But you know, this is a very clever thing. Every time it goes up, it gets sold currently. So let's keep an eye on it. Can we look at GMT USDT? This is from Shaz Ahmed again. Bear with me, it's new, but it looks quite impulsive. I think it will drop 50%. I want to catch the next wave up. But if it's new, so we've talked about this before, particularly on Wednesday when I was talking about when stuff becomes institutionalized. And so really to get the patterns that we're looking at, if I go back to the daily and ask, you know, to look at just the Elliott wave stuff, and let's get rid of some of this other nonsense. And the parallel channel I'm going to get rid of because I don't want people to actually look at it and think it's real. So what we're talking about here is an institutionalized product, and that's why it starts to behave. So something like GMT USDT is not an institutionalized product, and therefore I would not expect it to behave like one. So therefore I'm not looking for Elliott waves in it, because actually Why would there be? This has been around for about 10 minutes, and it's currently in what we call price discovery, because no one knows what the right price is, fueled by hype. If you look at the top, are we getting us? No, we're not really out of it yet, because if you so you haven't got what we look for at the end of a trend, which is this kind of thing. I mean, this is literally a daily. It's been around, according to this. I mean, perhaps it's older than this, but you know, there's nothing I can say. If it drops, you know, to here, that would be stop one. That would be the first stop, and then, you know, perhaps that's a good place if you want some vague, non-financial advice. Mio Toto says we have been going sideways for 200 days, new all-time high. Well, yeah, completely. That's kind of obvious, really, if you're the moon. Sethers0908 says, is Square looking the same? Thinking retest is, I'm assuming you mean mid-80s, if not seeing double bottom. Same as BTC, striking decent since they push crypto agenda and payments. Oh, I've obviously been forced to look at this before. Now I'm faced with whether or not, whether or not I was anything like, right, I'll stop doing that. Right, here we go. Well, that's what I've drawn. Let's zoom out a bit and see if I can find out what the hell I was thinking when I did this. Oh, okay. Don't know why I've got the 2 lower than the 1. Sorry, lower than the 0. So we've pulled back an awful long way. From this one, I think, given the fact that after you get to, look, it seems like I've drawn the 1 here, so I've actually picked the top of this one. Congratulations, me. I certainly haven't looked at this for a few weeks, so it does seem like I've been right about it. This, to me, doesn't look Elliott-like, because I can't see 5 waves in here. 1. Oh, you almost can. Okay, I'm not going to count it out. You've got the slight issues. If you try and draw a wave in here, you're going to get inside this 1. But I mean, the 1 is the hardest one to actually pin a number on. So that's kind of just about legal without really being legal. But it's a bit impulsive, and you've certainly got a big impulsive 3. Let's bring the stochastic back in. Okay, so if it is, this is almost perfect too. But often what you get when you've reached this 5 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you often get a 5 wave down, zigzag basically, and then you might get an impulsive wave up, and then another. You might get a double bottom here before it goes. But right now, you know, I'm not going to put you off buying it, and if you put a gun to my head, I'd buy that, not sell it. So there you go. There's EOSQ. Peter talks about the shortening of thrust, and that was what I was looking for in GMT. Yes, I was looking for a shortening of thrust. There isn't one yet. So Shazamir looks like 5 minutes. Says now we're doing expanded flat or running. Well, yeah. I mean, one thing we try not to do at Mayfair is talk really too much about the correctives, because they're so unpredictable. You know, I wouldn't like to predict how that's going to play out. What I look for is the next time we get impulsive activity. And all I'm saying is that this one might look impulsive, because if you have a zigzag, you've got this 5 move down first, and then it'll go up. And if this doesn't break on the second time, then I would feel bullish on this share. And right now, it feels like there might be a bull in it. But you know, you've got this bottom here, and if it breaks that and invalidates, you know, then bets are off. High octane 3 to 1. It's too short term, but if you want to trade it, watch for tweezers. Okay. Shaz Ahmed says, thanks for your insight anyways. Haha. Well, haha to you guys, and it is the weekend, and it's a stellar time for me. It's Friday afternoon here, and it's Poets Day, which is piss off early. Tomorrow's Saturday, and as a result, I'm going to do exactly that. We've not got any other questions. Please come and see us on Discord. It doesn't cost anything to come and have a look, and have a play around and ask some questions and see the back and forth. And yeah, please come and have a look. And what I was going to say, nothing much really. Look out for my idea, which I'll publish later, all about those candles, because that will kind of cement in your mind what it is I'm looking at. Actually, no, it's not about the candles. It's about the whole sort of upward channel that everyone's channeling at the moment, which is just nonsense. So if we go back to, let me go back to Bitcoin and just say, you know, I am going to write about this because I don't like the way people are representing it. And just to clue you back in case you've just come in late, they're talking about this being an upward channel. And they're saying, you know, higher highs, higher lows, we're going up. Well, no, that has to break. And that's it. Okay, have a good weekend, everybody. Rod Dash says, appreciate your help to determine accumulation of distribution. Hey, I might be wrong. It's a balance of probabilities assessment is what I'm doing. Using volume and candles, finding it pretty challenging. Thanks, have a great weekend. We'll keep going at it. I didn't learn this in a few days. Okay, boys and girls, I will see you on Monday most likely. Goodbye.